Have you ever felt it? That deep, unsettling hum beneath the surface of our modern world. A quiet dissonance that tells you something is profoundly, fundamentally wrong with the way we love, the way we connect, the way we seek validation. Have you ever looked at the chaos of modern relationships and felt the echo of a forgotten truth, a piece of ancient wisdom that, if remembered, could unlock the very chains that bind the masculine soul? The philosopher Plato whispered this truth to us across the ages, a divine warning that has gone unheeded. The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself. This is not merely a statement about politics. It is a sacred law of energy, a universal principle that governs the very core of your being. Today, we are living out this penalty. A silent, insidious addiction to external approval, a hunger for validation that was once a mere human quirk, has metastasized into a cultural cancer fueled by the cold, blue light of a million glowing screens. This insatiable craving, this spiritual poison, isn't a new phenomenon. It is an ancient psychological trap, a carefully laid snare for the soul that has toppled empires and broken the spirits of countless men long before our time. What if I told you that the key to reclaiming your divine power, to awakening your true masculine essence, lies in understanding this trap? What if the path to becoming the man that women instinctively respect and desire, the man who commands his own destiny, was not about learning new tricks, but about remembering an ancient, forbidden truth? This is a journey into the heart of a timeless battle for the soul. If you feel the resonance of this message deep within your spirit, if you've ever felt that something was missing, then you are in the right place at the right time. This is your awakening. Let us know in the comments if you feel this frequency, if this message speaks to the warrior within you, and be sure to subscribe. For we are about to pull back the veil on a truth that will change everything you thought you knew about power, attraction, and the fate of civilizations. Imagine, if you will, a young man. Let's call him Alex. He is the product of our age, a soul sculpted by 1,000 romantic comedies, a spirit marinated in the modern gospel that niceness is the ultimate currency of love. He's 24, bright-eyed, and believes with every fiber of his being that if he is just considerate enough, just attentive enough, just selfless enough, the right woman will see the pure gold of his heart and grant him the love he so deeply yearns for. He has been taught to be a mirror, reflecting back whatever desires she projects. So he bends. He bends until his spine aches with the effort. He memorizes her coffee order, not just the drink, but the precise temperature and the exact number of sugar packets. He showers her with compliments that he has rehearsed in his mind, words designed to fill the voids of her insecurity. He molds his personality, his hobbies, his very opinions into a shape he believes she will find pleasing, sanding down his own rough edges until he is smooth, predictable, and utterly safe. He becomes the perfect accommodating friend, the reliable confidant, the emotional caretaker. And yet, something strange happens. The closer he gets, the more he gives, the more distant she becomes. He can feel her energy retracting, a subtle but unmistakable shift in the frequency between them. Then he sees it. He sees her light up in the presence of another man, a man who offers no compliments, who seems to have forgotten her coffee order the moment she said it, a man whose attention is a fleeting gift, not a desperate offering. He watches as she flirts openly, her laughter a melody she has never sung for him. He scrolls through her social media, a digital gallery of thirst traps posted not for him, her devoted admirer, but for the validation of 1,000 anonymous strangers. A sea of faceless men whose fleeting likes are worth more than his months of unwavering devotion. A cold, crushing confusion descends upon him. What more does she want? He whispers into the void of his lonely apartment. What more can I possibly give? He is trapped in a paradox he cannot comprehend. And here, in his despair, lies the brutal, divine truth he has not yet learned to see. She doesn't want anything more from him. In fact, she doesn't want him at all. She wants the electrifying reflection of her own feminine essence in the unshakable mirror of a powerful masculine soul. She craves the man who does not need her validation to feel whole, because his validation flows from a deeper, internal source. Alex, in his desperate need to be liked, has offered her a cracked, wavering mirror, one that only reflects back his own emptiness and need. He has shown her his hunger, and in doing so, has proven he has nothing to offer but that hunger itself. This is not a new tragedy. This is a timeless spiritual dynamic that Plato warned us about over 2 millennia ago. In his profound dialogue, The Phaedrus, he describes the human soul as a chariot pulled by 2 powerful winged horses. One horse is noble, white, and aligned with the divine. It represents our spirit, our higher self, our connection to truth, beauty, and virtue. It yearns to soar upwards, towards the heavens, towards the realm of the eternal forms. But the other horse is dark, unruly, and monstrous. It represents our raw, untamed desires, our base appetites, our ego's insatiable hunger. This wild horse constantly tries to drag the chariot downwards, towards the earth, towards the fleeting, shallow pleasures of the material world. The charioteer, representing reason and the will, must struggle constantly to master these 2 opposing forces and guide the soul on its proper course. Now, perceive this allegory through the lens of our modern world. That wild, dark horse is the desperate craving for external validation. It is the part of us that thirsts for likes, for compliments, for the intoxicating rush of being seen, admired, and desired by others. It is a low-frequency, primal energy that, if left untamed, will drag your entire soul into a ditch of despair and powerlessness. And here is a crucial insight. Through millennia of social conditioning, the feminine psyche has often been groomed to become a master of this particular energy. Historically dependent on attracting a provider and protector, the feminine spirit learned to harness the power of beauty and allure to secure validation and survival. In our modern age, this dynamic has been amplified to a terrifying degree. Social media has become a global arena where this validation seeking is not just encouraged, but rewarded. It has become a virtual drug, and many are addicted. The tragic irony is that while a woman may be a master of seeking validation, she is instinctively, biologically, and spiritually repulsed by a man who is also addicted to it, especially when he seeks it from her. Plato understood this on an even deeper level. In his masterpiece, The Republic, he reveals a secret hierarchy of souls, a concept so potent it has been overlooked for centuries. He speaks of different metals mixed into the souls of men. Some have iron in their souls. These are the iron souls, men who are fundamentally bound to the material world. Their sense of self-worth is entirely external. They chase wealth, status, and the approval of others as the ultimate prize. They are the people pleasers, the sycophants, the men like Alex who believe their value is determined by the reflection they see in a woman's eyes. They are in essence hollow vessels waiting to be filled by the validation of the outside world. But then there are the gold souls. These men are forged from a different fire. Their souls are infused with gold, the metal of the divine. They are ruled not by the opinions of others, but by a powerful internal Furia-driving purpose, a mission that consumes them. Their validation comes from within, from the alignment with their higher self, from the act of creation, from the pursuit of their destiny. They do not seek to be a mirror for others. They are a lighthouse, an unshakable beacon of their own energy, their own truth. And this is the forbidden secret. The feminine spirit, on a primal, intuitive level, is an unerring detector of these soul frequencies. She can feel the difference between the needy, brittle energy of an iron soul and the radiant, self-contained power of a gold soul. An iron soul's need for her approval feels like a heavy weight, a burden, a spiritual vacuum that threatens to drain her own life force. But a gold soul's indifference to her approval is the most magnetic force in the universe. It signals to her deepest instincts that here is a man who is a source of energy, not a drain on it. Here is a man who can lead, who can protect, who is a rock against which the chaotic waves of the world and her own emotions can crash without fear. Here is a man who is already whole. This isn't just abstract philosophy. This is the hidden engine of history, the secret force that has driven the rise and fall of great civilizations. History proves it. Look to the late Roman Empire. It did not fall merely because of barbarian hordes at the gates. It rotted from the inside out, collapsing under the weight of its own spiritual decay. It became a sprawling, decadent circus of validation seeking. The masculine frame of the society dissolved. Wealthy patrician women hosted lavish salons where the men of the city, the poets, the artists, the philosophers, competed not in feats of strength or strategy, but in who could offer the most eloquent flattery, who could craft the most pleasing verse in honor of their hostess. Men became professional sycophants, their value measured by their ability to please and entertain. They demanded ever grander displays of devotion from these men-jeweled gowns, public declarations of love, even gladiators fighting in their honor. Does this sound familiar? The historian Tacitus, witnessing this decay firsthand, wrote grimly, "Luxury fed upon itself until no pleasure was enough. Rome fell because its men, its leaders, and its citizens forgot their purpose. They traded their gold-souled birthright for the counterfeit currency of feminine approval. They became a society of iron souls, soft, decadent, and obsessed with surfaces. They became slaves to female whim, and in doing so, they lost the inner strength, the spiritual armor that had built the greatest empire the world had ever known." The barbarians didn't conquer Rome, they simply walked in and kicked over a structure that was already hollow. Now, fast forward to today. The Roman salon has been replaced by Instagram. The flattering poet has been replaced by the thirsty DM slider. The gladiator has been replaced by the OnlyFans subscriber. It is the exact same spiritual pattern, but now supercharged by technology, a global 24/7 validation machine that is systematically weakening the masculine core of our own civilization. Modern psychology has a sterile name for this: approval addiction. But Plato saw deeper. He understood it as a fundamental misdirection of the soul's deepest longing. In his Symposium, he describes love not as a destination, but as a ladder, the ladder of love. The lowest rung of this ladder is the obsession with physical beauty, the desire for a single beautiful body. This is the most basic, primal form of attraction. But as the soul awakens, it begins to climb. It learns to appreciate the beauty of all bodies, then the beauty of minds, then the beauty of laws and institutions. And finally, it ascends to the highest rung, the love of beauty itself, the pursuit of absolute truth, the connection with the divine. Most people in our modern world, men and women alike, are tragically stuck on the very bottom rung. Why? Because validation is a drug, and our society is the world's biggest dealer. Every Instagram like, every DM, every lingering glance from a stranger delivers a tiny, fleeting dopamine hit. But like any drug, the high quickly fades, and the dose must forever increase. The woman who once blushed at a single compliment now requires a constant parade of orbiting men to feel even momentarily alive. This is where the path becomes so perilous for men. When you tie your self-worth to her approval, you enter a rigged game, a spiritual casino where the house always wins. Think of Odysseus in the ancient myth, strapped to the mast of his ship as the hypnotic siren song lures sailors to their deaths on the rocks. That siren song is the promise of female validation. And most men, without the discipline to strap themselves to the mast of their own purpose, willingly jump overboard, drowning in a sea of wasted effort and squandered potential. But there is a way out. There is an escape plan. Now, we will expose the exact moment in history when this validation seeking went from a simple human quirk to a full-blown cultural cancer. Understanding this will fundamentally change how you perceive every single relationship in your life. Alex, our young romantic, is still trapped in the validation machine. He watches helplessly as the woman he adores drifts further and further away, her attention flickering towards men who don't seem to care half as much as he does. He is drowning in a sea of confusion. He wonders, what do they have that I don't? He is asking the wrong question. Plato knew the answer. Buried deep within the pages of the Republic is a passage so explosive, so contrary to our modern sensibilities, that most scholars simply ignore it. He describes two fundamental kinds of men, a secret female hierarchy based on the soul's nature, the iron souls and the gold souls. Iron souls, as we've seen, are bound to the material world. They are driven by their appetites and their need for external validation. Their worth is a reflection, a fragile image painted by the opinions of others. They chase wealth, status, and the approval of the crowd, especially the approval of women. But gold souls are different. They are ruled by an inner fire, a sense of purpose so consuming that the world's applause means nothing to them. They are governed by an internal compass, an unshakable connection to their own destiny. Women, Plato argues, are instinctive, almost psychic detectors of these souls. On a primal level, they can sense the frequency of a man's spirit. Consider ancient Sparta. While Athens prided itself on philosophy and art, Sparta forged men of steel. Spartan women were notorious for their brutal standards, demanding absolute strength and courage from their men. A mother's famous farewell to her son going to war wasn't, "Come back safe." It was, "Return with your shield, or on it." Why? Because Spartan women understood something that modern men have been brainwashed to forget. Validation is a currency, and it inflates like a dying empire's coinage. A man who begs for approval is like a beggar offering counterfeit gold. But in the 5th century Athens, something shifted. The rise of democracy, Plato's great nemesis, began to change the very nature of manhood. It turned men into politicians, performers, people-pleasers. The philosopher kings, the gold souls, were replaced by silver-tongued sophists who mastered the art of flattery. And women noticed. Fast forward to today. Social media has turned this dynamic into a grotesque, hyper-accelerated parody. The average woman is bombarded with a level of attention that would have been unimaginable to even the most beautiful queen in history. Thirsty DMs, Instagram likes, TikTok duets, a constant fire hose of low-cost validation. Meanwhile, the average man fights for mere scraps of recognition. But here's the twist that will shatter your perception of reality. Women do not respect the men who validate them. Think about it. When was the last time a woman looked at one of the hundreds of men fawning over her in her comment section and thought, "That's the man I want to build a life with"? Never. Because deep down, in the most ancient part of her being, a woman craves what she cannot easily control. Plato's ultimate solution wasn't to reject women, it was to reject the entire game of validation. In his profound allegory of the cave, he describes prisoners chained in darkness, watching shadows flicker on a wall, mistaking those illusions for reality. Most men today are those prisoners, believing that if they just perform the right dance, say the right words, and get enough likes, they'll win the prize of love and respect. But the gold soul, the philosopher, simply turns around and walks out of the cave. He isn't cold or unfeeling, he is unshakable. His validation comes from within. He doesn't seek love, he becomes worthy of it. Let me tell you about Daniel. 3 years ago, Daniel was Alex, trapped in the endless approval loop, contorting himself for every woman he met, only to be left feeling empty and confused. Then, he stumbled upon Plato. He realized with a jolt that he had been an iron soul, begging for attention in a world that secretly rewards silence and strength. So he stopped. He stopped playing the game. He lifted weights not for the Instagram photo, but for the raw, brutal challenge of testing his own limits. He built a business not to impress women with his income, but to conquer his own potential and build something of value in the world. He stopped asking, "Do you like me?" and started asking, "Do I like myself? Do I respect the man I see in the mirror?" And then, a strange and miraculous thing happened. Women who once ignored him now leaned in when he spoke. Their laughter came easier in his presence. Their eyes lingered. Not because he had learned better game, but because he had stopped playing altogether. This is the secret most men never learn. Women do not want to be placed on a pedestal. They don't want a worshiper. They want to stand beside a man who is already free. Plato saw this archetype in the philosopher kingsmen so utterly consumed by their mission, so driven by their purpose, that romantic love was a secondary language, a beautiful addition to a life already rich with meaning, not the sole purpose of it. But today, we are taught the exact opposite. Be emotional, be vulnerable, beg for her approval. And it is killing men. There is a reason this cultural shift was inevitable. Men are finally waking up to the truth that the system is rigged, that validation is a trap. But the real question isn't, how do I make her want me? It's, why do I care if she does? What if the most attractive thing a man can do isn't to love a woman, but to love something more than her? The answer lies in a forbidden dialogue, a truth so powerful that even Plato feared to publish it openly. There is a forgotten letter, buried deep in the dusty archives of Oxford University, written by a Victorian gentleman to his soon-to-be wife on the eve of their wedding. It is a remarkable document, not for what it says, but for what it does not say. It does not speak of overwhelming, passionate love. It does not gush with flowery affection. In fact, its most passionate line reads simply, "I shall endeavor to be worthy of the position you grant me." These people, our ancestors who built empires while we swipe on screens, understood something we have been systematically brainwashed to forget. The deepest, most enduring romantic bonds are forged not in the fleeting fires of passion, but in the cool, solid ice of mutual respect. This is the forbidden truth. The healthiest marriages in history were not love matches between best friends. Spartan unions were arranged for eugenics. Victorian marriages were business contracts. Medieval nobility married for land and titles. Yet these relationships produced civilizations that shaped the world, while our modern love-based marriages crumble under the weight of their own impossible expectations. Why? Because love, real love, the kind that builds legacies, cannot exist without hierarchy. It cannot exist without the quiet, unspoken understanding of the masculine frame. Picture a medieval knight. He kneels before his lady, pledging his service, his sword, his life. The modern romantic fool sees only submission, but the wise see the truth. This entire performance, this ritual of courtly love, only works because everyone in the room, especially the lady, knows that the knight could crush her skull with his bare hands if he chose to. It is his chosen restraint, his power held in check by his own code of honor, that makes him worthy of respect and, therefore, of love. The power dynamic is everything. Modern men have been tricked, through a century of cultural programming, into voluntarily surrendering this frame. We've been taught that equality means sameness, that love means the complete dissolution of all hierarchies. So we confess our weaknesses, we seek her approval, we beg for her affection, and then we wonder why our relationships feel hollow, why our wives look at us with something dangerously close to pity. Plato warned of this in the Republic when he described the democratic man, the man with no internal hierarchy, no guiding principles, who is a slave to every passing whim. He is the woman pleaser, the approval addict, the spineless creature who cannot lead because he is too busy following the shifting winds of public opinion. Here is what no one wants to tell you. Women are biologically primally repulsed by men they pity. It's not fair, it's not right, but it is true. Study after study shows the same pattern. When men become emotionally dependent on their partners, when they surrender their masculine frame, sexual frequency plummets. The Victorian husband who spent 18 hours a day at his gentleman's club fathered more children than the modern, involved father who begs his wife for intimacy. The Spartan warrior who saw his wife twice a year built a bloodline that dominated Greece for centuries. This is not an argument for cruelty or neglect. It is a revelation about polarity, about that mysterious electric spark that dies when men forget their primal role as the rock against which the chaotic, beautiful waves of female emotion are meant to crash. So what is the solution? It is not a return to oppression, but a radical recalibration to what actually works, what has always worked. This is Plato's escape plan, the blueprint for rewiring the male psyche for power and reclaiming your birthright as a gold soul. It happens in 3 phases. Phase 1. The agauge of the mind. The ancient Spartans understood that to forge a warrior, you must first break down the boy. You, modern man, need a psychological agauge. Start here. For the next 30 days, you will practice a validation fast. You will not compliment any woman unprompted. You will check your dating app and social media notifications no more than once per day. You will not adjust your opinions, your personality, or your plans to fit the desires of female company. This is not about misogyny. It is about detoxing from the validation addiction that has kept you weak. Like an alcoholic who must first admit his powerlessness, you must first recognize how thoroughly you have been conditioned to seek female approval as a measure of your self-worth. The withdrawal will hurt. You will feel invisible. You will feel the gnawing ache of the ego being starved. That's the point. You are cauterizing the wound. Phase 2. The philosopher's obsession. Plato's famous academy wasn't a school. It was a cult of obsession. Students didn't simply take classes in philosophy. They disappeared into it for years, emerging, transformed. Every great man in history had this singular, consuming focus. Michelangelo didn't date, he carved. Newton didn't chase women, he unraveled the universe. Tesla didn't need love, he worshipped electricity. Your mission now is to find your obsession. Find that one thing, your business, your art, your craft, your physical transformation that makes everything else feel irrelevant. This cannot be a mere hobby or a side hustle. It must be a consuming fire. Most men fail here because they subconsciously pick a mission designed to impress women, which is just another validation trap. Your true mission is the thing that would still matter to you if every woman on earth ceased to exist. Paradoxically, this is what makes you irresistibly attractive. Nothing attracts women like a man who doesn't care about attracting them. Phase 3. The charioteer's discipline. Remember Plato's chariot. The wild horse of desire, of sexual energy, is not your enemy. Your fear of it is. Ancient warrior cultures understood this. The Spartans mandated marriage but forbade cohabitation, forcing men to channel their frustrated desire into martial prowess. The samurai practiced shudo, a form of warrior love, while maintaining emotional distance from their wives, channeling their primary bond into their brotherhood and their duty. The Victorians, for all their faults, channeled their intense sexual repression into building the largest empire in history. The modern solution is this: stop dissipating your vital energy. This means discipline. It means redirecting that raw, powerful force not into the fleeting, empty release of digital fantasies or meaningless encounters, but into the furnace of your mission. This is the alchemy that turns the base male need into an irresistible magnetic presence. You become a man radiating sexual energy without seeking its release. You become a walking contradiction, a mystery she will be compelled to solve. We have covered the how. Now comes the why. And it's darker than you can possibly imagine. There's a reason these truths were once guarded by mystery cults, whispered only to initiates. It's not because they are misogynistic. It's because understanding female nature at this level completely and irrevocably destroys most men's ability to enjoy conventional, normal relationships ever again. Now comes the hardest truth of all. Most men don't want to be saved. They would rather keep playing the game on easy mode, chasing quick validation hits and complaining about women, never doing the real, painful work of forging their own soul. But for the few who are ready, we have revealed Plato's escape plan, the exact steps to rewire your desires and turn your life into something women cannot look away from. There is a forgotten truth, a devastating irony that underpins all of human history. The healthiest marriages were not between best friends. They were between warriors and their worthy counterparts. Men and women who understood their sacred roles in a dance older than civilization itself. This is the forbidden truth. The happiest relationships are not partnerships of equals. They are hierarchies of respect. The men who love women least are loved by them most. Not because women are cruel, not because love is a lie, but because true affection cannot exist without the possibility of its withdrawal. Desire lives in the space between having and not having. Modern men have been sold a fairy tale that comfort breeds connection. History laughs at this notion. Comfort breeds complacency. Complacency breeds contempt. And contempt is the death of all love. This is where our journey ends, not with tactics or rage, but with a simple, devastating question. Do you have the courage to be respected rather than liked? The choice is yours. The cave is comfortable, and its shadows are entertaining, but the sun is waiting.